what can you help me with so that I can go further with my development, so I can learn how to make even more digital media to share with my friends and bring it back out into the space. And then once they had that, they could go all the way deep into the space, which is the Geek Out area. This is where there's workshops where they can learn that digital media, where they have the opportunity to have workshops on things like Final Cut Pro or Premiere or any kind of digital media editing tools. And they can learn that. And then once they've attained those skills and have started making their media, they can bring it out into the entire space. And we put spec'd it out for LCD monitors, places to display their work so they could show it with their peers. And also had LCD monitors that you can see on the bottom pointing out into the street so the rest of the world could also see what they're working on. They could really take that trophy, which from the hero's journey, their goal, and express what they've done with everybody else. And that was kind of how we envisioned the story that would be told through the floor plan. That being said, so stories were very important for us. So we did have a story-driven process. Corey spoke about how stories were so important for us. When we first started the project, we were given these vignettes of Jerome and Maria, and these characters were characters that the Digital Youth Network had envisioned would come into the space before it had even been developed. They just wrote a story out there, both like a page and a half, and told the story of these teenagers walking through the space and how they engage with mentors, and it really helped us envision what the space could be. And we really held on to those and carried them on through the rest of the project. And we found that as we kept rewriting their stories based on what we were speccing out, we could really nail down the guest experience in a more specific manner and see how it engaged the teenagers. And lastly, having that story was very important to go back with everybody, all the invested parties in the project, and make sure we're all understood exactly how it's functioning. We could tell them the story back to the Digital Youth Network and new media and say, Maria is going to come into the space and ask about fashion design and talk to the mentor. And she's going to go to the specific place that we've designed for her. And it really helped engaging that conversation and making sure it was understood. So that story was very important. Now I'm going to have EJ talk about how important color was, because the design was important, but also just how we aesthetically approached the teenagers was important to the space.
Yeah, this is a top view of the space, and in terms of define the actual space, we use different full colors. As you can see, like a bright color for the hangout area, the dark color for the surrounding kick-out area. And also we visually divide some specific area like a stage and the two entrance. And also when we selected the final product for the paint and the floor, and we and our client to try to use the eco-friendly product as much as possible. And this one is one of the big parts of us. And this is the final color scheme for the actual space. So we try to use very natural color like a green and orange. So for the hangout area, we use a very cool color like a bluish and green for to make them very active. But for the geek out area, like a master area, we use a very warm and dark color, so make them calm down and they can focus on the study and workshop. And also we created the logo for the space. So we and our clients thought that the logo is one of the big parts for the brand of the space. So we approached with several different designs, and this one is final. This is just clean and simple look, and easy to remember. And also color combination from the actual space. And Corey will talk about the LCD tree.
Okay. Thanks, EJ. So we designed an LCD tree for the space. It was kind of our gift to the space, to the library, and to the teens. And we wanted it to be very interactive. We wanted it to be kind of owned by the teens. It's a touchscreen LCD tree, which they can write messages on. This is a whiteboard surface. They can upload their own photos. They can be a part of the space physically and also digitally, so they can upload their own photos. And this was built out by Chicago Scenic Studios, and it actually, we were hoping it would become kind of a centerpiece of the space, and I think it has, in a way, become that focus point and community point for the teens. So this is the space before. Taylor mentioned it was, what, 5,500
Yeah.
feet? When we walked in at the beginning, it was basically storage, and this is what it looked like. And when we went there for the opening in July, this is what it looked like. So you can see the LCD screens that Michael mentioned. The teens' artwork is, we designed that into the space. The display of the teens' art was very much a part of what we thought about. There's the tree that I was just speaking of in its physical form. Some teens using the space. I think there's Drew even in the background there.
He's one of the teens.
This is the stage area. We demarcated it by using the 4 coloring. And these, you'll see more copies of that. So again, teens using the space. This is looking through to the desktop computers we have. One of the most popular rooms is the sound mixing room, and we put sound baffling so that it doesn't affect the other people who are maybe doing something a little more that they need to focus on. They don't want to hear the music. And gaming became a big part. We talked a lot with Katie Salen, who told us about how to incorporate gaming into the library. And that was actually a big debate, something that we can maybe talk about later in the Q&A, but gaming has become a part of board games and video games. And as you can see, they're very popular. These huge beanbags are very popular as well. So just quickly, some lessons that we learned in this process. The persistence pays off in dealing with so many different parties. We had to push for certain things, but we also had to stay flexible. There were so many people involved and so many needs, and we always had to come back to what was best for the teens and what was best for the library itself and its further life. Technical specifications played a huge role in how we designed the space in terms of flow, movement throughout the space, where we put furniture, all that type of stuff, which we started early, thankfully, and it didn't present so much of a problem, but if anybody else is going through this process, you really need to nail that down quickly. Including, similarly, responsibilities. So this is an internal thing we had to deal with in our team, but also when you have 5 or 6, however many different parties we had, it can be an easy thing for responsibilities to fall through the cracks. So we had a conference call every week, which Diana actually took part in, and we just kind of made sure everybody knew who was responsible for what. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nicole Pinker.
Can you go back to the before?
Yeah.
So, hello, I'm Nicole, representing the Digital Network, where we have many of our mentors who are sitting here. So we were approached by MacArthur when this space was actually full of more stuff than this, to say, when you want to take the DYN program down to the library and help kids use digital media to engage books. And we were like, do we have to? We were, I think one of the things to say is that the library is a very important space for us to think about in terms of using engaging kids in digital media, because first it's open to everyone. Kids can come. It doesn't have a particular agenda to it. And so that actually, in the same way that's liberating, it also creates a lot of constraints. Most of us who do youth media work probably focus more in the geeking out area, where we have kids who want to come to our programs, or we know they're going to show up every Monday at 3 to 6 o'clock. So when we were met with the challenge of trying to program hanging out, messing around, and geeking out. So if, in this particular space, on any one day if you come there, you might have 30 kids in the hanging out area who are all from a local school that, came in after school to hang out. Some kids who are, trying to fight over the recording studio. And some kids just trying to get there to use laptops. And so we had to figure out, how do we come up with new types of activity structures that respect the right to one